Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie and I have 10 shore living beach or coastal DIYs for you using this new line from the Dollar Tree. So for this DIY, we're going to use one of the little kind of standing up wood mermaids from the Dollar Tree, and then one of these little tag signs with like the coral pattern on it. And we're going to put these together and make a really pretty beach DIY. This is probably one of my favorite shore living DIYs. I kind of want my mermaid to look like driftwood. So what I did was I just mixed some ivory paint with some antique wax by Waverly to give me that, like, you know, grayish brown color. And I go all over my little mermaid. I also go over her starfish that she's holding just because it's a little hard to get that out of her hand and I don't want to break any of the wood. Once I get it on, I just wipe off the excess, kind of leaving like a stain of that color to get us started. I mix up a little bit more of that same paint, and then I'm also going to just paint the little wood border all the way around the little cork sign. I'm not a big fan of these tag signs, but I do love the coral pattern on this one, and so I think we can make it work. I kind of wanted to make it look like the little mermaid is swimming in the ocean. And so I thought I would just kind of give this a coordinating frame. I'm going to wipe off the excess on that as well. And then I wanted to stress our little mermaid a little bit with some ivory paint and a chunky brush, kind of going all over. I do have plans for her tail, so I don't really have to do that part, but just kind of in one direction. Finish that off with a baby wipe to give me that distressed coastal farmhouse vibe, and I'm going to do the same thing along the borders of the little tag sign that we just painted. Okay, now it's time to make this look like an ocean. So I'm going to tape off the areas that we just painted, and we are going to paint the corkboard to make it look like the ocean. I'm mixing a couple colors together. I really wanted a light blue. I mixed like Caribbean blue and ivory together to give me this really light blue. It's about the same color as the cloudless acrylic that you can get at Walmart. And just using one of the tiny brushes from Dollar Tree, I'm just getting as close as I can to the coral because I really like that, and I don't mind that having like the brown background, but I do want the rest of the sign to make it look like the ocean. So it's okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you get it pretty close in there, you're going to get that beautiful coral design, and you didn't even have to paint it on there, so that's pretty cool. Now I do kind of want it to look like, you know, imperfect, like underwater feel, so I just use my tiny brush. I'm going to get lots of brush strokes like that, but that's okay. It's going to kind of go with the vibe that I'm going for on that. So I just finished painting the whole thing, and I'm just going to do that one coat of blue all over, just touching up any areas that weren't quite even. And that is the final result for our little ocean tag. That looks pretty cool. And I'm going to clean that up a little bit, and we can start working on decorating this mermaid. Isn't she going to be, well, she's going to be beautiful. She's not beautiful yet. I'm going to go ahead and repaint her little starfish ivory. It's just easier to paint it, repaint it, than try to take it off or avoid it, if you know what I mean. And I gave her just a little bleached ivory starfish in her hand. Now, I was trying to think of what I could do for her tail. I decided I wanted like this tail part of her tail to be like ivory. I do have plans to cover that with something, but I do kind of want it to have a little bit of an ivory background. And at this point, I thought it might be easier to go ahead and attach her to this sign because we have lots of decorating to do on our little mermaid. So I just do a little hot glue all over and glue her to the ocean. I'm going to kind of sit her off to the side here so you can see that coral pattern. Kind of looks like she's swimming out of the sign, but like looking back, and attach that with hot glue. Now this is my plan for her tail. I wanted to do like little fish scales or mermaid scales on her tail with seashells. These are those little tiny seashells that you get at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just gluing them upside down, and it looks like, you know, like a fish scale like shape, right? They have these year-round in the little glass bottles. They should be pretty easy to find. Doesn't matter what color you're using, because pretty much the inside of all of them is going to be a similar color. And I found it was kind of like putting together a puzzle, just trying to find the different shapes and sizes, what's going to fit, especially like on this little skinny part of her tail. But we're going to go all the way to like the area that I painted ivory, and kind of just working one row at a time and just slightly overlapping the layer below it to give you that cool design. This looks so cool. It's one of my favorite Shore Living DIYs. I'm looking at it right now in my living room, and it is just so beautiful. And I think the seashells are probably why. So again, I'm just going to keep kind of puzzle piecing it together, working one row at a time, just all the way up to her little waist. You do notice that she does have like a hole in her hair there where the hanger was. I do have plans for her mermaid hair. You can kind of see off there to the side what my plans are with that. And we're just going to decorate her and make her look really cool. So just finishing this up. This does take a little bit of time and patience to get her tail covered with the seashells, but definitely worth it. A lot of times seashell projects can look really tacky, but this one actually looks really pretty. Now for her tail, I wanted something ivory to kind of go with those shells, but something like straight lines. So I'm using Dollar Tree rope. It's going to give you that coastal rope feel. I just unwind into thirds, and then I unwind it again until it's actually just the individual fibers of the rope. And then I'm just going to cut that, unwind it, hot glue it down, and I want to cover her entire little tail fin here with that. I'm cutting it longer on purpose because I could always trim it up at the end, but I want to make sure that she has really good coverage. So I just kind of do one little piece at a time, unwinding everything and gluing this on. This gave me a really interesting texture, and it is another like coastal vibe because it is made out of rope, so I think that's super fun. I'm going to go in and just trim it up close to the shape of the tail fin now. With just my scissors, just try to get as close as I can to the edge of the tail. And I did find that it was easier to do all of this decorating because I had the mermaid attached. You would think it would make it harder, but it just kind of provided some more stability to the project so I can really kind of work with it. So that looks cool. Now for her hair, we're going to use one of these little child luau skirts from the Dollar Tree. If you, they have these every summer. If you don't have one or they don't have them out at your store, you could always use any kind of raffia as well. Or some of you guys have even done it with like orange yarn, which is really cute. It's going to give you that Ariel vibe, right? From Little Mermaid. And I thought we would just make her hair with this, right? I'm just going to cut off a piece of the grass skirt that's going to cover the very top of her head. And we're just going to start hot gluing this down. I'm only hot gluing it, you know, to the areas that I can. So the areas that actually have wood hair. And I'm going to want to make it longer than her hair was on the sign. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off the top, which is going to trim off that little twine piece and give me the perfect, like, cut up there. And you can always, like, you know, work a piece at a time and kind of fill it in. I cut off another piece to do the same thing here on the back of her hair, cutting that down to size along her little hairline. And she's going to have some flowing raffia hair. kind of like pulling that all down and giving her a little haircut. It is pretty long though. I do have like just a little bit of like baldness here, so I do add just a few pieces of that raffia that we trimmed off. And I also had a little piece here that was kind of still exposed, but I want to cover like all of her hair with this raffia. That looks like it's pretty good coverage. I did end up cutting off that little point because I did find that it was kind of weird. It was kind of sticking out a little bit, but that would have been enough to cut with scissors for sure. I kind of want it to be flowing down like around, like underneath of her arm. And I also want her to have a little bit of a hairstyle. So I do take a couple more of those pieces of raffia that we trimmed off. And I'm going to kind of use that part to kind of wrap her hair down a little bit. And then I thought she definitely needed like a seashell to decorate her hair. And this is, again, those little seashells in the glass bottles. I like to organize mine in those little toy organizers from Dollar Tree. That way they're easy to get out and easy to craft with. Trying to figure out how many seashells in her hair she needs. I decided on 2. Now that little piece that I added of hair, that's where I put like the seashells in there. I'm kind of using that to help guide the rest of the hair, like to the back. So I glue that part down first on the back of the sign. I want her hair to be flowing though. I just wanted it to have a little bit of shape. I'm going to go in now and reattach that twine hanger that came with the sign. And this is how she turned out. Our little driftwood and raffia and seashell mermaid. I love her. I hope you guys do too. So pretty. Okay, the next DIY is going to be one of these little beach signs from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. We're just going to give it a makeover and try to make it look a little bit better, make it match my coastal decor. So the first step is I'm just trying to remove home. It's like galvanized metal on the sign, and I'm going to try to take it off here without any damage. So I'm just using my little Cricut spatula from the Dollar Tree and heat, and trying my best to get it off without ripping any of the paper on the sign. And this is going to be a quick, easy DIY. I like these little signs from the Dollar Tree, but I often find they need a little something, right? So we have our home, and it says, is where the waves crash. I do want it to still say that, but I just kind of want it to look a little bit better. So it looks like printed paper right now. So I'm using some ivory paint and a chunky brush and distressing slightly, working in one direction, following that up with a baby wipe to kind of make it look like more like a hand-painted rustic sign. It's already got like the board pattern on there, and I do that a couple of times until I get like my level of distress, and I find that can really take those Dollar Tree signs and make them look a lot better. Now for the home, I don't really want it to be galvanized metal, so I'm going to mix that Caribbean blue and ivory together again to give me that beautiful, beautiful beachy blue color, and we're just going to paint the galvanized metal. It's okay if you can see a little bit of the metal through, because it's going to make it look distressed, but I do go over it with another coat because I really wanted it to be this really pretty color of blue. I think it's going to contrast nicely with the blue that's already on the sign, and it's going to kind of make it go with my coastal vibes in my house. Now I do go in and distress it very lightly with some antique wax by Waverly too, kind of like I did the ivory, just to add some more color variations, a little bit more distressing, and just to make it look better. This is probably like a Dollar Tree hack because we're just going to take their existing sign and just apply some techniques that's just going to really take it up a notch. So there's our home word. Doesn't it look better in blue? I think it really does. So I'm going to go ahead and hot glue that back on our sign. And home is where the waves crash. I just love these signs. I love the whole shore living line. I want mine to be standing up, so I'm just going to glue on a couple of these. These are the giant Jenga blocks. I get these every spring. I'll have to check to see if they have them this year at Five Below. But just to make it a standing sign to go on my shelf for summer. And that's how it turned out. When you glue the blocks onto the back, make sure you don't go all the way to the bottom because you want it to slightly lean back so it's not like a tippy sign. But I think it looks a lot better. What do you guys think about this little Dollar Tree Shore Living makeover? Okay, next we're living DIY. I'm going to use some of these little wood boxes from the Dollar Tree. 4 of them. They have the little like metal file folder like holders at the end. I just needed 4 tiny little squares, so I think they have these in a couple sizes, but basically you could use whatever you had. You know, you might even be able to use one of those like crates from the Target dollar spot if you can't find these, but I just picked up 4 all the same size, and I thought we could put it together and then use some of those little shore living ornaments to make a cool little coastal shadow box. So I'm going to start by gluing them together. I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and wood glue, kind of a short-term, a long-term hold on those, and just kind of glue them together, trying to make them square. I'm going to make sure that the holes where the little file folder things that I removed are kind of pointing towards each other, so I will glue those together and I'll have a beautiful like wood finish on all of them. So once I get the top 2 together, I just glue the whole thing together. And these were remarkably a square. They fit together really nicely. And now we have a really like large shadow box that we can decorate. I was going to reinforce it on the back with popsicle sticks, but I found that it didn't really need it at all. Now, the wood on this is really pretty inside and on like around the edges, but the actual like front of the frames are that like unfinished like MDF. So I do want to paint those. So I am just going to go through and tape off everything that I don't want to get any paint on, and then we can go in and paint these blue. The color that I'm using there, I think, is the Caribbean blue. These are just acrylic paint, and I'm going to go in and kind of use my chunky brush to kind of give me that coastal like vibe, but I'm going for about as good coverage as I can get. I want to do like the inside of each box where it's at like unfinished MDF wood, and the fronts as well. And it's gonna make it look beachy with this beautiful like Caribbean blue color, but it's also gonna cover up that part of the wood that's not pretty and just leave all of the pretty ones. I don't know why they don't kind of finish that off completely. I guess these are supposed to be like little bins, but we're gonna use them for frames. So going over, trying to give like a nice like coastal farmhouse vibe on this. And then we can dry it and remove all the painter's tape. Taping it was probably the hardest part of the whole process. But it did a pretty good job. And doesn't that look cool? Because it's got like that rustic blue with like the wood coming through. Very coastal with that like light wood background. Now, these are the little ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use like 4 different ones. They have these every year with the Shore Living, and I was able to find them again this year. And actually, I had 3 of the big ones, and I decided to do some smaller, some of the clothespins for the 3rd one. These little fish. Now, I like popping the clothespins off of these. But you got to be careful because sometimes they're like really glued down and you're going to end up you know, like splitting your wood or breaking it in half. So you might want to use a little bit of heat first. I was just going right after it to try to get that off. But I really like these little tiny wood cutouts. I kind of wish they wouldn't have the clothespins on them because, you know, I'm not really going to use them like that for a lot of applications. Now, I do want to fill up the hole in the starfish, the sea turtle, and the little seahorse. And so I just used hot glue to try to fill that in. You can use spackle. I never really know what works best, but one of y'all told me to try that, so I did. Now we're going to paint our little ornaments. The little starfish has like little circles on it. I kind of wanted just the plain side, so I'm painting the back. And then the sea turtle and the seahorse, and I was able to get 2 of those little fish off of the little clothespins. And I found that you could still kind of see the holes, and since it's kind of a display piece, I really didn't want you to be able to see the holes in these. So after painting, I did notice that it still needed some filler, so I did go back and spackle them. That's the only thing I like about the ocean creature wood ornaments that I get on Amazon is that they don't have the holes in them. And you could still see the holes after my spackle, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get serious with this one. So I decided to try covering it up with some masking tape. Sometimes I have luck for that. I don't know. Maybe I just don't fill my spackler enough or like give it enough time to dry. But we're going to try the masking tape method because I really don't want to be able to see that hole. And I have filled it twice with glue and with spackle. And I'm painting these with that ivory chalk paint, so it's kind of thick. So I think that I can cover up like the depth of the masking tape and it'll kind of make it blend all in. That is my plan anyway. And I think I finally got good coverage there. And then I want them to look, you know, a little distressed. And so I am going to use some Antique Wax by Waverly to distress them slightly. Just want a little bit of a tan distress on there. So I'm following that up with a baby wipe to get it just how I want it. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of them, just kind of working in one direction. I always like to use those little chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree. And then a baby wipe to kind of blend it in. It's going to give us that distressed look and not quite so stark ivory or white. And I just kind of want like an even level of distress on all of them. If you don't think it's distressed quite enough, you can always go back in. And if you distress too much, you can always go back with your original color too. Don't be afraid to try to do it. It's actually pretty easy. But sometimes it does take a couple tries to get it exactly the way that you want it. And now we can put it together. I'm going to do my 2 little fish here, like kind of swimming in a school. It could be really cute if you had 3 too, but the boxes are not that big. And I chose these little crates because they were square. I thought that would look cool. And here is our little starfish. I just hot glue that one in there. And our little seahorse on this side. And our little sea turtle over here. I finally got the holes covered in those. I think I should have started with the masking tape first. Now, I wanted it to look like there was a little fishing net, but the fishing net from the Dollar Tree, this is the kind they have in the summer section. I'm not a big fan of it because the holes are kind of too big. So I kind of wanted to show you that in comparison to what I'm going to use. These are the little ombre tote bags from the Dollar Tree. If you see these, pick these up because look how good this material is to make like a tiny fishnet. It does have like half pink, half ivory, but we're just going to use the ivory. I'm just going to cut some out to make some fishing net, just to kind of display over on this side. I know that some of you guys have said to use like, I think the Dollar Tree has the little, you know, no skid rug backers that kind of similar color and size that you could also use to make a fishing net. But since this is kind of more like a miniature project, I thought that I wanted a fishing net with more of a smaller vibe like that. So I just cut a strip of it out, and I'm just going to kind of hot glue it here on the back and just kind of drape it over the side just to give me a fun little coastal feel. Just trimming that down a little bit, and I kind of like that little effect, just kind of dripping over the side. And I think these turned out really cute. What do you guys think about our little shore living sea creature shadow box? Okay, next DIY, I'm gonna combine a couple of the shore living items together. One of the little shore living signs. What I want off that is that galvanized metal word that says beach. So I'm going to try to just remove that with some heat and my little Cricut spatula. Trying not to like rip the paper or cause any damage to the sign. And we got that off. Now, I do want to use the sign though. This is a shore living sign. Doesn't matter which one, because we're going to cover it with one of their little canvases that they also have in the shore living line. They have this one again this year. They also have different ones. You can kind of go with whichever one you like the best. I love crafting with these little canvases. I always like to kind of remove them from the canvas and DIY them into something a little bit more finished than an framed canvas. I'm just trying to, I started with like staples, just trying to remove that. And then I was like, you know, it might be even easier just to try to cut it off. So that's what I did mostly, is just use my razor blade and try to cut that off the back of the frame. Kind of a combination of that and my pliers. And then I realized my box cutter actually did a better job of popping those staples out than my pliers. Just want to free it, but I also didn't want to cause any damage on the sides because I want to frame this out with that Dollar Tree Shore Living sign. And so I need as much fabric with that pattern on there as I can, because the canvas was definitely smaller than the photo or the frame. So I'm going to start trimming this down to size, cutting off that back part with the staple holes and the white, and then kind of measuring to see exactly how big I need this canvas to be. And then I'm just going to use the frame for a guide and my razor blade and start cutting this down to size. Basically, it was like I needed all of it except for the very back part. So you can kind of like just cut along the fold for the very back part. That's why I was kind of glad that I did not mess with the sides at all, because I definitely needed them to fill up the frame. And this is just a great way to frame one of these cheap little canvases from the Dollar Tree very inexpensively. And I also have that galvanized metal beach word that will be really fun as well. Now, I was kind of worried that you were going to be able to see this through the canvas. I'm not sure if you really could, but just in case, I'm just going to go over the whole thing with some white just to kind of give myself a blank canvas, just some white acrylic. It can be as crazy as possible, doesn't really matter. Just trying to mask that, because sometimes when I Mod Podge stuff on, you can see through it. And that's what we're going to do, is just attach it with Mod Podge. I'm going to do like a rather thick layer of the Dollar Tree Mod Podge. Doesn't matter which one you use. You're not going to be able to see it. We're just using it for the glue. And then we're going to lay our canvas on the frame and smooth it down. Now, you could try ironing it from the back maybe to get those wrinkles out. I'm trying to like just smooth it down the best that I can with some baby wipes. And that also cleans up any Mod Podge that might be like kind of pouring out the sides. I was able to get it down pretty smooth, but I am going to decorate it a little bit as well. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah, you might want to iron it because there definitely was some wrinkles in it when you do this method. I just made sure that all of my corners were like really glued down and that this was going to stay on there. I also just used my scraper too. And then I kind of wanted just to finish off the edges just because my cuts were not completely perfect. And I thought that the jute twine would give it another little coastal touch. This is that thicker jute twine that I get at Walmart by the roll. But you could kind of use whatever you have. I like this because it's thicker than most of them that I find at Dollar Tree. And then it is a little rough though, so I'm just burning off all the fuzzies on those. I cut one down for each side, and then we can just attach those to kind of frame it out a little bit. They'll kind of sit inside the little wood frame, but also cover up the seams of our painting. I do go over the whole thing with another coat of matte Mod Podge just to make sure it stays down. And I didn't want this going anywhere. I may have excessively Mod Podged it down. But it turned out really good. And so now I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue along the top edge and just put that jute twine in there. And that definitely covered up my seam. Little trick you can do when something looks a little imperfect like that. And anytime you can use rope or jute or anything like that, it's going to give you another little coastal touch to your DIY. Just one side at a time, just gluing those down. And it's already looking a little bit better. Now here is the little beach word that we took off the sign. I don't want it to be the galvanized metal. I kind of want mine to kind of look like driftwood. So I mix a little ivory paint with some Antique Wax by Waverly to give me this pretty like tan color. And I am just going to paint it working in one direction, kind of giving it like a little bit of a wood grain. It's okay if some of the metal shows through. It's going to make it look even more like coastal. And now we can glue this back to the canvas or to the picture frame, this time with a beach canvas in between. And I think this looks a lot better than it originally did. I love this painting of the beach. It totally looks like the beach here in Vero Beach. Now the hanger was like not straight at all on this. I'm not sure what they did when they were putting this on. So we're just gonna remove this and do our own thing. I have this little sawtooth hanger that I pulled off the canvas. And so we'll just use it instead. These are great because you can just nail them into the frame. No little tiny screws or anything like that to try to mess with. Now, this is the decoration part I was saying that might cover up like the little fold there in the bottom, the little wrinkle. I'm just going to use Dollar Tree seashells, and we're just going to hot glue those all along the bottom. I try to pick out like a variety of shells and colors. You can find some really good seashells from the Dollar Tree, but you can always use the ones that you have from the beach. I really tried to choose some unique ones to kind of fill it all up. And it's going to give you a fun little decoration for a little beach sign. Now I took those two items from the Dollar Tree. So like very inexpensive way to DIY this. And then I have that Market Pantry bag that we used for the shadow box. I'm just going to cut out some more of that fishnet just to kind of get another little decoration for our little beach side. And I like to use the pink part too for Valentine's Day, for coastal like Valentine's Day. And I'm going to kind of drape it along the side on this one as well. I think that looks kind of cool, and it provides a fun little finishing touch to this DIY. Just gonna hot glue it here on the back. Just kind of swag it down the side. Isn't that cute and beachy? I love how this turned out. It's one of my favorites. The painting is nice and bright, and they have so many different styles. I think I have like maybe 6 beach paintings, all completely different. And this is how it turned out. This is how it looks hanging in my dining room. Super cute. Okay, they have these again this year, the little salty and happy seahorses. They have 2 of these this year. They have one that's like a more like royal blue too. I'm gonna go ahead and pop off the little galvanized metal starfish on there. I find that those things really kind of fall off anyway, sometimes even at the store. It does kind of have like a blob of glue under it. And then the salty and happy is glitter. I like the blue and white boards, but not a fan of the glitter. I don't think that goes with the coastal farmhouse vibe at all. So we're gonna try to just kind of hack this little sign a little bit just to make it look better and more coastal for my decor. So I try to start with my sanding block to kind of sand off as much of the glitter as I can. And then we're going to start trying to tone it down. I start with using some matte Mod Podge, that matte finish. Always tones down the glitter a little bit. And so I definitely do a coat of that over the glitter after I tried, you know, sanding some off. But the white and like light blue boards, I think that totally looks nice and coastal and beachy. The only thing is it does kind of look like printed paper. So I thought we could use some paints and distress it. I'm using some ivory mixed with Antique Wax by Waverly. Gives me that nice like driftwood color. And just start distressing my boards a little bit more. Kind of following that up with a baby wipe. It's going to give me like a more like hand painted sign look. And then I'm going to replace the galvanized metal starfish on there with one of these little starfish that they have at the Dollar Tree and Shore Living right now. They're so cute. You get 3 in a package. They are a little molded starfish. They're not real, but they're super cute. And I like it, I think, just in white. So we're just going to hot glue that down where the starfish was on there before. I think it's going to look a little bit cuter than the galvanized metal one for sure. And you kind of have to just glue down the starfish rays that are actually kind of touching your project. Not all of them do. And again, we're not really DIYing this one that much. We're just kind of improving it maybe. And trying to make it look better. Finally got that glued down well. And then I thought we could probably do even a better hanger than just the twine that was on there. I'm going to try using some of this Dollar Tree white coastal rope, like just kind of unwoven into like a thinner, a tiny little rope, and kind of get like a white coastal rope feel here. And I just tie it in a knot at the end, making a little loop, kind of a more coastal version of a hanger, just to add a little bit more character. Trimming that down a little bit too. And then we can just attach that with some hot glue over the existing hanger. And I think it's already looking better. Kind of toning down the glitter is one of the most important steps. I did notice that you could kind of still see some glitter. So for the final touch, I decided to go in with a white paint pen and go over all of the glitter with just a Sharpie white paint pen. And this really made it look a lot better. It really, the white kind of pops a little bit, and it really disguised any glitter that was still left visible. Just trying to color in between the lines. Doesn't have to be perfect. And the fact that this is like kind of hand painted now kind of adds to the appeal of the project, makes it look a little bit less like printed paper again. And I just don't know why they put glitter on this little seahorse because it totally did not belong there. And then I'm going to seal that down with a little bit more Mod Podge. And I kind of go over the whole project just to make sure that it has like a even sheen, that matte sheen in the end. And this is how it looks hanging in my house. I think it looks nice and coastal. No sign of glitter here. With our cute little board seahorse. That seahorse is a little bit bigger than the one they have that's the unfinished wood. Okay guys, I want to tell you about my private Facebook group. I have it linked below, as well as my Facebook page. I'd love to see you over there. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest, and you can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube, on all of those, just one word. Okay, the next little DIY is so easy. They have these little candle holders again this year. They have them in clear, like royal blue, like a pretty like beachy blue. I just picked up a clear one for this one and a little votive candle that I had from Dollar Tree. And this is going to be so easy. We're just going to fill it up with some Dollar Tree brown sand. It can be brown or white, really. And then just kind of work our little candle down inside. So cute. It's got like the twine around it with the little white starfish on front. And I just kind of display it with some of my existing decor. I had some coral I put up on a little shelf and one of the little Dollar Tree starfish as well. So easy, quick little Dollar Tree hack. You could even put some tiny seashells in there too if you wanted. That'd be cute. Okay, let's make over or improve, I guess, this little Dollar Tree sign. It says 2 less fish in the sea. These are a nice size coastal sign. They do have these again this year. I noticed they have some different sayings on these again this year. And again, I don't know why, but there's glitter all over it. If glitter bothers you like it bothers me, we're going to tone it down just like we did with a little seahorse. So the first thing I do is, I found this worked the best on the seahorse, was going over it with the white paint pen. And that's exactly what I do. Just kind of spell it out. 2 less fish in the sea. I noticed a lot of things this year with the Shore Living line, like the new sailboats and stuff like that. They did a really good job of not putting any glitter on them. I also don't really like the little mirrored fish on this. So I'll show you how I hack this Dollar Tree sign, make it look really cute and coastal. Once I got that all painted, I'm going to distress all over with some ivory paint, just to kind of make it look less like a printed paper and more like a hand-painted sign. Follow that up with just a baby wipe and gave it a nice coastal farmhouse distress. And then I'm going to go over all of that glitter again with some matte Mod Podge, just in case any of it was shining through along the edges of my paint. Because we're not going to have any glitter on this project. Just not going to happen, Dollar Tree. I also distress it with a little antique wax by Waverly. It's going to give a little bit of character to those letters as well. Kind of gives it a driftwood feel. I had a similar sign, I think in my last video, that I kind of hacked similarly. It was a different, one of the different signs, but what I did with that one is I kind of feathered like the ivory all along the edges like this to kind of cover up the brown wood, just to brighten it up a little bit. And I really like that feathered edge. It was really easy to do, and I think it goes with the vibe of the sign a little bit better. So I just did that around all the edges and gave that a quick dry. Now for the little mirrored fish. I'm going to use, I think this is like lake blue is the color, and a makeup sponge. And we're just going to kind of carefully paint our little mirrored starfish blue. Kind of in one direction like that. It does kind of give a little bit of brush stroke in there, even though I was using a sponge. So after drying that, I do go in with another coat to kind of fill that in a little bit more. And then I also want it to look coastal, so I distress it slightly with a little ivory. It just made the sign look way more coastal to me. I'm going to replace the hanger that it came with some of this Dollar Tree wood bead garland. This is the cube shape. It would be cute with whatever you have. But I thought that would be a fun little touch. The cube shape is probably my least favorite, but that's probably why I used it, was just to try to get rid of it. But it does have a great string that's real tiny that you can tie on there for your hanger. And there is our little Dollar Tree hack sign to less fish in the sea. I think we took a sign that could be a little tacky and tried to make it look more coastal by getting rid of all of that glitter, making it look hand painted, also getting rid of the mirror look on the fish. Now they have these again this year, these little shell or sand bottles. They're so cute. This one says wish upon a starfish. I love these. They're so fun. I'm going to take some Dollar Tree sand and just snip the corner off my little bag I had. And that way I don't need a funnel to try to get this filled with sand. These are so cute. They have them in all different kinds of sayings and stuff like that. I like to buy them too and keep them for Halloween because they make great potion bottles with the little cork toppers. But this one's definitely going to be a wish upon a starfish. Now the little tiny seashells that you get in the little glass bottles at the Dollar Tree, I'm going to scatter those in there along with some little tiny starfish that I get on Amazon and kind of arrange those around with like a skewer. These would be really cute too in that little candle that we put in sand. Just add a little character, little beach scene going on in there. And then just replace the cork. I love it. I did think that I could distress it slightly, the paint that's on there, to kind of give it more of a coastal vibe. So that's what I do. I go over it with a little ivory and then kind of clean the distressed paint off the like clear glass, just kind of leaving the distress on the letters just to break it up a little bit. But this step totally optional. You know, I can't stand not to distress something, but this was a quick, easy, shore living Dollar Tree DIY. And everything came from the Dollar Tree except for that little tiny starfish. And this is how it turned out. Wish upon a starfish. I love it. I love the color of the little starfish on there as well. Totally goes with the color in my living room. Okay, next DIY. You know these long signs, they have these again this year. This is the one with the seahorse cut out. I never really know what to do with them, but I had a great idea. I would take 4 of them and we can make some really fun little lanterns for summer. So I kind of figure out how long I want this little lantern box to be. I want this to be fairly long because I want the candle to kind of fit underneath the little seahorse. So I'm just going to use my little square from the Dollar Tree and try to make sure that I have it nice and square. And we can cut these little Dollar Tree signs down to size. It's a great way to get wood with a cutout in it like that without having to do any like crazy jigsaw. And I'm not a big fan of the thin signs. I think this was a great application for them. You'll just need 4 of the same size or the same one if you don't want to have to paint it or anything. So I'm going to cut them all 4 at this length. And we're going to do 2 different versions of this one. So you can kind of see what it looks like with some of the different ones. It looks like all these signs from last year are the same this year. And then I have, you know, the extra wood that we used to cut it off. So I'm going to use that using another one as a reference line to give me a square for the bottom of our little DIY lantern. It cuts down pretty well. I am going to clean it up a little bit with a sanding sponge just to make sure that all my cuts were nice and smooth. And then we can start putting this together. This was so fun to make. I'm going to use some of those little tiny Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree to kind of help me put this together and try to keep everything square. So I'm gonna hot glue this along the edge, flat like that, so I have something to glue to when I go to glue my next one on there. And I'm gonna do another one right here, about halfway down. The reason I'm doing so many is because the Dollar Tree signs can be kind of thin. This one flush with the bottom, and you don't want any bowing to cause it not to be square. And so now I have 3 little blocks that I can glue the sides to. But before I start doing that, I'm gonna go ahead on the other side and glue down 3 more of those little Dollar Tree Jenga blocks. You could also use like the little craft squares, but I think these kind of worked better because they're nice and thin. They're not real obvious from the outside. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other side as well. I'm going to need, for the other complete opposite side, I'm going to need those blocks on there as well, so that when I go to put it all together, I have sides to glue it to. So I just kind of use the first one as reference to kind of know exactly where I want to put them. And we're going to glue 6 of the Jenga blocks to this one as well. And I do it flush with the bottom so that I have something to glue the bottom onto as well. Now we can start putting it together. So this is kind of how the side is going to fit on there, like that. And then the bottom will fit on there like that. So I'm going to do a little bit of hot glue on the side of each one of these. Line it up and smooth it out, making sure that I have all 3 of them glued down and that it looks nice and square. Looking pretty good, looking pretty good. I do put 1 more down here just because I did detect a slight bow and I had some room. Trying to get as tight of a seam as I can. And since I needed 1 more on that one, I just went ahead and added 1 to the other side as well. And let's do that on the other side too. That way it's all kind of constructed the same. So now it's time to put the other side on. I'm just going to put glue on all 4 of our Jenga blocks now. And lay this side on top, making sure all of it comes into contact and everything looks good and square. And this was really easy to put together. It turned out so cute. I'm still using these. I do use the battery operated candles in them though. Not sure how well they would do with real candles in them. And I just don't really want to make a mess with that. So now I'm going to go in and put glue on the sides of the other side. Glue that in there, kind of making it square. And now I only have 1 side left to attach. I'm going to pull it back slightly and put hot glue on those 4 Jenga blocks as well. And we have the general structure of our lantern built. And the wood is really pretty, especially with that cutout of the seahorse. I think it's so cute. That's kind of like what it looks like from the top right now. And now we can attach the bottom. We had the 4 Jenga blocks down there, so we have something to glue to it. So I put glue on all 4. And then just sit the bottom on there. Looking really cute. I do want to kind of frame out the top with some Dollar Tree nautical rope just to give it a little finishing touch, a little coastal feel along the top part of the lantern that we just constructed. It's also going to cover up the little holes on the top of the sign. So I just hot glue that to the top. And this step's totally optional. It would be cute without it, but I really think it really made it really cute and coastal. And we're going to continue that rope along all 4 sides, just hot gluing it kind of flush with the top. The holes in it from the signs, though, not that distracting if you didn't want to do this step. So that looks good. We're going to go ahead and cut that rope down to size and use a little hot glue to kind of clean up our little seam here. And then I decided it would look really cute and balanced if I did the same thing along the bottom. And so I continue that rope, hot gluing it along the bottom of this lantern. And it's almost complete. Just make sure not to burn yourself with your hot glue. Isn't it cute? And now we can put a candle in there. I'm going to use one of the taller Dollar Tree battery operated candles. You can use whatever you want. If you had like a timer one, that'd be great too. But look how cute that little lantern is. I love it. I'll show you what it looks like a little bit better after we make the matching one. I wanted to do another one with the little blue starfish cutout long signs from the Dollar Tree. This one I'm going to make a lot shorter, as you can see, and I want to pair them together. They're going to look cute because they're like different cutouts, different colors, different sizes, but we're going to build it like the same exact way. Now, I'm trying to make sure my starfish kind of go the same direction, but that's what I do. I cut down all 4 signs down to size, and now we have our 4 sides. Just giving it a quick sand, and then we can use one of those as reference to cut down another piece of the board to make a bottom. And now we're pros at putting these together, right? So I'm going to put it together. I'm going to construct it the same way that we did with the little Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree. I love crafting with those little Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree. They used to be kind of hard to find at my stores, but they seem to always have them now, in quite a lot of stock. I think they know that we like to craft with them. So this one I'm only going to use 3 because it is a smaller lantern, and just making sure the one on the bottom is flush with the bottom so that I can attach it. If you had a little bit square of a sign, you might not need to use 3, but since I wanted to make sure that there's no warping and everything stays square, definitely using as many of these as I can. So we're going to hot glue on the outside and glue on the side. This is kind of a refresher of what we just did, and then do the same thing on this one. And then we can put our other side on. Hot gluing it to one side first. I don't want that hot glue to dry before I get it good and attached. And then finishing off the last side. And then now all we need to do is attach the bottom, a little hot glue on each one of those Jenga blocks. I think this is just a great use for those long coastal shore living signs from the Dollar Tree. I really liked how the rope turned out on the other one, so we're going to do the same thing on this one. It's going to cover up the little hanger holes, and it really pops up against that pretty beachy blue. So we're going to frame out the bottom in the same way. And I did like the color on this. I did think it needed a little bit of distressing once I get it put all together, because you know, the wood grain one already kind of looks a little distressed. This just looked a little bit too solid blue. And so I'm going to tape this off a little bit. I probably should have done this before I attached the rope, but that's why I'm taping that down now. And then I'm going to go in and distress it with ivory. And I like the existing color, but I kind of really just wanted to make this look as coastal and cool as possible. So I have that like existing blue like showing through along with the ivory, and then I'm going to add another color of blue. This is like a turquoise blue acrylic. Kind of mix them all together in that distress, really make it look nice and coastal. And again, you're probably going to want to do this step before you put your rope on there. But I did like it better like this. Instead of just one uniform color of blue, kind of mixing like 3 different coastal colors all together. Now it's time to untape my rope and see the final result. I think it turned out really pretty. And I left the inside blue. That's fine. It totally goes with it. And this is how the two of them look paired together with a little battery operated candles inside. These would be great for indoor or outdoor decorations. I love them. I use them out in my Florida room on my patio. Okay, next DIY is kind of a thrift flip. I got this half price at Goodwill, so it was only like $1.50. But basically, you can use any kind of a Dollar Tree frame and cover the back with burlap, because that's what we're going to need for a background for our next little shore living DIY. This one had like a glass or ceramic tile on it. And so I'm just trying to use some heat and try to pop that off with as little damage as possible to the burlap. But basically I liked this because I thought the frame looked nice and rustic, and it already had like the burlap in the back. It was just a matter of popping that little tile off. We did a pretty good job. A slight snag, but nothing big. Now, these are the little ceramic starfish they have at the Dollar Tree. They have them again this year. They have them in blue or white. The blue one's actually my favorite, but I always have a hard time finding that. I go over the whole thing with just some matte Mod Podge, and then I'm going to go over it with ivory chalk paint. This is going to kind of make it look like a real starfish and less like a super glossy ceramic starfish. And then my plan is to frame it out on the little burlap sign. So if you wanted to recreate this, you totally could with any kind of a frame, preferably wood, and cover the back with a little burlap. You could use the burlap bags from the Dollar Tree, or any kind of, they have rolled burlap now at Dollar Tree, yay! And then I'm just gonna hot glue the little ceramic starfish on there. This was so easy to DIY, and it really looks nice. It really looks high-end. And just hot glue that on and frame that out like the piece of art that it is. This frame was nice and thick, so it kind of already stands on its own, but it also had a hanger on there so I could hang it. I'm going to use it on my shelf like this, and I think the texture and the finish of that starfish just looks like a bleached starfish. It looks so fun. Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about memberships. I have recently introduced those on my channel. For $4.99 a month, you can support Crafty Beach. You're going to get early access to my videos and other fun perks. You're free to cancel anytime, and I already have 2 Crafty Beach Home members. Huge shout out to Coastal Couple and Karen O'Haron. I really appreciate your support on my channel, and it helps to keep these videos coming. Okay, it's time for the final reveal. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, comment your favorite DIY below, and don't forget to subscribe. Road to 15K.
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. Ooh, we are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. Wait for our home to show on the horizon. Soon we'll be there. Hold on tight. I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us. If we just hold on tight, this vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. When we can't read the sky, we just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore.
If you'd like to see more Crafty Beach, YouTube thinks that you might enjoy this video right here.